Sometimes, one person's joke ends up being another person's insult. Welcome to WatchMojo.com, and today we're counting down our picks for the top 10 controversial SNL monologues. Before we begin, we publish new videos every day, so be sure to subscribe for more great content. For this list, we're looking at opening monologues from Saturday Night Live that were considered shocking, or which otherwise made pop culture headlines for their content. Number 10, Kumail Nanjiani attacks racists.
Islamophobia is kind of like Will and Grace, you know, where it was huge a while ago, and then we thought it was gone and done, and now it's back and bigger than ever. Thursdays on NBC.
Actor, comedian, writer, and podcast host Kumail Nanjiani attacked hate groups and racists in October of 2017 on the main stage of Saturday Night Live. The Silicon Valley star focused a particular segment of his monologue specifically against the rising tide of Islamophobia in America, hilariously pointing out that many of those who have harassed him don't even recognize that Nanjiani is actually of Pakistani and not Indian descent.
My Twitter mentions were a little bit of a nightmare after the movie. A lot of people were like, go back to India, which I've never been to India.
His observations were both biting and culturally relevant, reflecting that year's turbulent political climate.
I am so glad you laughed at that, because otherwise it sounds like I'm just giving a very divisive speech. Islam is the only true religion. Women shouldn't drive.
Number 9, Sam Kinison lets loose. Sam Kinison was one of a kind, a firebrand comedian who frequently butted heads with censors during his 1980s heyday. Censorship certainly came into play in a 1986 episode of SNL, as Kinison found himself on the wrong end of a battle with network execs when it came to his stand-up material. He performed 2 different jokes that ended up being cut from broadcast, and the material came as a complete surprise to everyone backstage, leading to blackouts in the middle of his set.
I'm back on Saturday Night Live. Can't believe it. NBC censors, I don't know, I guess they're on vacation.
Just a few weeks later, Kinison returned to host the show, opening with a guitar solo, poking fun at the censors, and finishing off with accompaniment by some mounted police officers.
Well, I guess I won't be doing that prepared sketch on homosexuals, Will by Wilbur.
Number 8, Kristen Stewart's language.
Macdonald, if you didn't like me then, you're really probably not gonna like me now because I'm hosting SNL and I'm like so gay, dude.
Even in 2017, certain dirty words still possess a power to get people into a tizzy. Or at least that was the reaction the morning after actress Kristen Stewart hosted Saturday Night Live in February. Stewart's monologue was actually full of funny highlights, including commentary on President Trump's Twitter obsession, as well as a controversial line where she referred to herself as so gay. It was the tail end of Stewart's monologue that earned her the most buzz, however, as she mistakenly and excitedly dropped an F-bomb on live television. Both Stewart and SNL brass laughed off the incident, but it definitely made headlines.
We've got a great show and I totally care that I'm here because it's the coolest thing ever. Oh my God, and I'm sorry, and unless your car is also here and I'll never come back.
Number 7, Aziz Ansari versus Prejudice.
I'm talking about these people that as soon as Trump won, they're like, we don't have to pretend like we're not racist anymore! We don't have to pretend anymore! We can be racist again! Woo!
Our next monologue once again takes aim at American racism and at President Trump, and it also arrives as a very special first. Comedian Aziz Ansari was the first South Asian performer to host SNL in January 2017, and did so with a killer stand-up performance that was simultaneously brave, brash, and very funny. Ansari didn't shy away from humorous material that focused upon cultural insensitivity in popular culture, as well as the protests that were center stage on the news in the wake of President Trump's inauguration.
Trump won! Go back to Africa. Trump won! Go back to Mexico. They see me. Trump won! Go back to where you came from.
By most accounts, Ansari's monologue was a success, but it achieved this by attacking topics that were, and remain, undeniably controversial.
Change comes from large groups of angry people. And if day one is any indication, You are part of the largest group of angry people I have ever seen.
Number 6, Dave Chappelle provokes the censors.
But America's done it. We've actually elected an internet troll as our president.
At this point, you're likely seeing a theme with some of the monologues on this list, as a number of them deal specifically with the aftermath of Donald Trump ascending to the US presidency. Dave Chappelle had the unenviable task of hosting the very first episode of SNL after the 2016 election.
How you feeling? Oh, God, gotta tell you, this job looks like it's gonna be a lot harder than I thought. Really? It's not that hard. I mean, at least you get to be white while you're doing it.
Chappelle, to his credit, was cool, calm, and collected in his monologue, and even controversially commented that he was going to give Trump a chance. Chappelle also commented on gun violence, as well as the Black Lives Matter movement, refusing to shy away from incendiary topics. The gamble paid off for Chappelle, as he later won an Emmy for Outstanding Guest Actor in a Comedy Series.
I'm wishing Donald Trump luck, and I'm gonna give him a chance. And we, the historically disenfranchised, demand that he give us one too.
Number 5, Norm Macdonald returns.
You know, when the people here asked me to do the show, you know, I gotta say, I felt kind of weird, you know. I don't know if you remember this, but I used to actually be on this show, you know.
Talk about poetic justice. Less than 2 years after cult comic icon Norm Macdonald was fired from SNL for reportedly, quote, not being funny, he returned. In what can only be described as a truly ironic twist, they then brought back Macdonald to host the show.
Then it occurred to me, I haven't gotten funnier. The show has gotten really bad.
Well, Saturday Night Live certainly got what they paid for, as not only was Macdonald his usual witty, hilarious self, but he also totally skewered the show during his monologue. Among his many insults were openly calling out the show as bad and deliberately referencing his firing only 18 months or so prior. This one truly must be heard to be believed.
All right, folks, we got a bad show for you tonight. Dr. Dre, Snoop Doggy Dogg, and Eminem are here.
Number 4, Chris Rock and the Boston Marathon.
Tomorrow's the New York City Marathon? Yeah, scary, you know, what could go wrong there, right?
Chris Rock is a fearless comedian, and he proved that in November 2014 when he hosted an episode of Saturday Night Live's 40th season. No one was spared during former SNL star Rock's fiery monologue, as the comedian joked about such controversial topics as 9/11 and the still recent Boston Marathon bombings.
I am never going in the Freedom Tower, man. Are you kidding me? It's the same spot.
What set Rock's monologue apart from others was how effective it was, and how it reminded us once again that the trailblazing comedy program rose to prominence by being unafraid to ruffle feathers or offend just about anyone's delicate sensibilities.
You on your own. I don't care what disease it is. I don't care if it's protecting kids, the environment. I don't care. If you see me talking about a disease, I got it.
Number 3, Larry David's Holocaust humor.
Many of the predators, not all, but many of them, are Jews.
The mid-2010s were sure controversial times. This one is from guest host and Curb Your Enthusiasm star Larry David. In November 2017, the Seinfeld co-creator started off strong with some bits about love and dating before delving into the current sexual assault allegations against high-profile Hollywood players like Harvey Weinstein.
I don't like it when Jews are in the headlines for notorious reasons. I want Einstein discovers the theory of relativity. Salk cures polio. What I don't want? Weinstein took it out.
The bit then somehow took a left turn into the imaginary scenario of picking up girls at a concentration camp during the Holocaust, a bit that got David into seriously hot water with some critics and fans the next day. You think?
I'd love to take you out for some latkes. You like latkes? What? What'd I say? Is it me or is it the whole thing?
Number 2, Louis C.K. talks pedophilia.
Like if I go to a pizza place I've never been to before, and it's run by 4 black women, I'll go like, See, it's very mild. It's extremely mild racism.
Some topics are controversial no matter what. During his first SNL hosting gig back in 2015, Louis C.K. found this out firsthand thanks to his opening monologue, during which he talked about growing up in the 1970s, his own mild racism, and child molesters.
There's no worse life available to a human than being a caught child molester. And yet they still do it, which you can only really surmise that it must be really good. I mean, from their point of view.
CK's reputation as a comics comic didn't save him from backlash from the press and on social media, but he stuck to his guns, delivering a similarly edgy monologue when he returned as host 2 years later. Of course, once Louis was accused of and admitted to sexual misconduct in 2017, all of his comedy took on extra levels of cringe and controversy.
Yet, if somebody said to me, if you eat another Mounds Bar, you'll go to jail and everybody will hate you, I would stop eating them. Because they do taste delicious, but they don't taste as good as a young boy does and shouldn't. To a child molester, not to me.
Number 1. Martin Lawrence, Band Boy.
It's crazy though, I gotta talk about some things. The daggone censors are following me everywhere around, which they get off my ass. Oops, damn, did I slip?
Sometimes a guest host can rebound from a controversial monologue on SNL. Other times, well, they get permanently banned and become persona non grata. That's what happened to Martin Lawrence when he hosted Saturday Night Live back in 1994. Lawrence was riding high at the time on the success of his TV show Martin. So maybe this could explain why he played so fast and loose with network censors. Lawrence's stand-up opened with then topical jokes about Lorena Bobbitt, before devolving into some very graphic talk about feminine hygiene.
In summary, Martin feels, or felt at the time, that the failure of many young women to bathe thoroughly is a serious problem that demands our attention.
The segment has never been rebroadcast, with most airings of the show featuring a text crawl referencing how Lawrence almost cost everyone at SNL their jobs. Martin has never been back on since, and he likely never will.
Look here, y'all, we got a great show for you tonight, because I'm here. That's right.
Do you agree with our picks? Check out these other great clips from Watch Mojo and subscribe for new videos every day.